Alright, so part 2 on lesson 3-2, solving trig graphs. Now we're on to the examples, and the first type of examples are just given the function, identify the four properties: the amplitude, the period, the phase shift, the vertical. What I did in class, and I'll do here also, I do try to identify the A, B, C, and D, just like I did for the other graph transformations. In this case, we have 2, I see minus 1 down here, but we're going to have a problem here. We don't have a parent function here. We have 2t minus pi. We can only have the variable inside those parentheses. So what we need to do is we need to pull that 2 in front of the t. We need to pull that out of the parenthesis. So I'm going to try and squeeze this up here. 2 cosine of 2 parentheses t minus. Here's what we got to be careful. Since I pulled the 2 out of the parenthesis, we need to change the pi to just pi over 2. Set of parentheses minus 1. Okay, so the first step is make sure you're in standard form or the parent form. Now I can identify b is still 2, c is pi over 2. If we go back to our identification and definitions, amplitude is A, phase shift, vertical shift, C and D, and then our period is 2 pi over B. That means, we're just going to call them out here, we say amplitude 2, period is 2 pi over B, B is 2. So our period is just pi. Our phase shift, PS, is pi over 2. Again, it's like t minus c or x minus c. So since we have a matching minus sign, we actually turn pi over 2. It's a positive number. It's not, you don't put the negative with it. And then our vertical shift, same thing here. It's usually plus d. Here's minus 1. So our vertical shift, we just say minus 1. Now, one thing different from our other transformations is that we don't say left pi over 2 or right pi over 2. We don't say up or down with our vertical shifts. We are just leaving them as positive, negative values and calling it. Over here, we've got our parent function. Not so hot here. We got negative 3 sine of t over 2. That doesn't match. We just need t minus c. So we've got negative 3 sine. That's pulling a half out front works. So t minus what? So if we want to get to the function, well, we're actually going to say plus. Well, if we call it pi over 4, nope, sorry, pi over 2. Half times t is t over 2. Half times pi over 2 is pi over 4. So we are good to go now. So our amplitude is the number out front, and that is the absolute value of negative 3. So the amplitude is just 3. Period is equal to 2 pi over b. So 2 pi over a half is the same thing as 2 pi times 2. So that's instead of divided by half, you multiply by 2. So your period is actually 4 pi. Now our phase shift in this case, had we said, let me just write these out quick. Phase shift is c. In this case, c is just negative pi over 2, and we just leave it negative pi over 2. We don't say to the left, we just call it negative pi over 2. Vertical shift is up 2, or just we're just going to leave it as 2. Next, we're going to do writing the function given the 4 properties. So in this case, I'm just going to, this is where it's even handier to do the A, B, C, D. A equals, our amplitude is the absolute value of 0.5, so just 0.5. Let me finish writing these. Let's see, period is pi. So 2 pi over b equals the period. The period's pi. So we need to figure out how to get b by itself. Well, if we just take and multiply both sides by b and then divide both sides by pi, we essentially flip these two in their position, leaving us with, b is equal to 2. And then c, our phase shift, pi over 4, and d is just 4. So if we want to write the equation, that's y equals a times sine, so 0.5 sine of b, so 2 times x minus c pi over 4 plus d. D is positive, so plus 4. There you go. Looks like we've got, well, first of all, we got a couple of hand marks there, but yeah, that's how you do that. We would do the same thing for part C. I'll just shorthand it so we can get this one done. Amplitude is 1, so we just say 1 times sine of, well, let's see, 2 pi over b is equal to our period. Our period is just 2. So we actually say that when we flip these, 2 pi over 2 is just pi. So pi times x minus, well, our phase shift is minus 3, so plus 3. Sorry, I forgot my parenthesis there. And our vertical shift down, so that's negative 4. And sine of pi of x plus 3 minus 4 is our answer. So that's how you do the types of, given the equation, identify parts, or given the parts, create the equation. Third video, I will actually go ahead and do example 3. This is just, here's some points on a graph, now create the equation. So you kind of combine examples 1 and 2, you identify the parts, then write the equation based on the graph. So that'll be part 3.